This is the COMA Girl Daily Podcast, written by Stephanie Bond. September 20th, Tuesday.
Crowd in around bed 3, Dr. Tyson said. Move the balloons aside.
Time for show and tell.
Patient is a 28-year-old female recovering from a traumatic brain injury received in a car accident approximately 16 weeks ago. She was unconscious when she arrived at Brady. She underwent surgery to relieve bleeding on the brain. She has not yet regained consciousness. Also, the patient is 16 weeks pregnant. Questions? Gaynor, go. What is the state of the brain bleed? Stable and healing. Some swelling remains. Streeter, go. Is the patient verbal? No. Sana, go.
Does the patient still exhibit brainwave activity?
Yes. Goldberg, go. Does the patient respond to commands to blink or move her extremities?
Tyson hesitated.
Sometimes, a voice piped up.
Dr. Jarvis, my hero.
I've got this, Jarvis, Dr. Tyson said.
Sometimes, she repeated.
More often than not?
She didn't respond at first.
Go ahead, Jarvis. She's your patient as much as mine. The answer is no,
Dr. Jarvis said, speaking more slowly.
More often, the patient doesn't respond, and in fact, her responses are declining. When was the peak response time? 2 weeks ago, Jarvis said. Could the fetus be negatively affecting the patient's neural recovery?
Dr. Jarvis didn't answer.
Yes, indirectly, Dr. Tyson said, her voice dragging. We believe the increased volume of fluids and more circulatory demands could be stalling the brain heal, or even eroding it.
Eroding? That's not good.
Tosco, go.
What are the chances the baby will be brought to full term?
Good to very good.
Phew.
Gaynor, go. And what is the prognosis of the patient?
I'm waiting. And waiting.
Let's move on to the maternity ward.
Is she running late? Or avoiding the question?
But before we leave, I'd like to remind everyone this patient is receiving a lot of media attention, and as such, you might be approached by reporters or others for information on her condition or the baby's. If that happens, keep your mouth shut and call the police. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Go, Tosco.
Can you address the rumor going around that this patient is receiving special treatment?
Such as?
Such as experimental drugs. I held my breath.
Since you brought it up, yes. Dr. Jarvis has administered an experimental treatment to this patient that was completely unauthorized. Dr. Jarvis, please step forward.
His footsteps sounded as if he were headed to the gallows.
Please take a few minutes to explain the idea behind the iPod's continuous loop of some of the worst music ever perpetrated on the human ear.
Rounds of laughter sounded. Then Dr. Jarvis launched into an enthusiastic explanation of his research on the effects of classical music on the brain. I silently applauded Dr. Tyson, but at the same time I realized she'd had time to answer the question about my prognosis, but had deftly dodged it.
Hi, this is Stephanie Bond, author of the COMA Girl Daily Podcast. If you have a question you'd like for me to answer on an upcoming bonus episode, check the show notes for links to reach out on social media. Thanks for listening. Come back tomorrow for another episode of COMA Girl. And please tell a friend.